price. All right, Shell Oil takes one step forward and another back. Remember we told you just last week how the company is drilling for massive new oil reserves off the Alaskan coast. Well, it just decided to postpone its plans, all because it can't meet the Coast Guard's safety certification standards. So how troubling a sign is it for the U.S.'s recent oil production boom? Joining me now is Congressman Ed Whitfield, chairman of the House Energy and Power Subcommittee. Thank you so much for joining us. I was looking at the details of this in particular, and it seems like they spent millions upgrading a barge that has to be on site in order for them to do the drilling. And the Coast Guard, at the end of the day, did not clear it for its duty. So they had to scrap their plans because now the ice is moving in until the end of last year. Do you think this was too much regulation, an abundance of caution? Was it legitimate? How would you characterize it?
Well, Melissa, the Obama administration has been so aggressive on new regulations, both on emissions as well as on permitting, that it's really unprecedented. For example, this company spent right at $4.5 billion, and it took 6 years to obtain the initial permit. So the aggressiveness of this administration on new regulations is really unprecedented.
It's hard to know in this particular case without being there, without having, the evidence brought to light, I guess, on the show in front of us, to know if this boat was really a danger or if it was too much regulation. I read a lot of the details, and it's very hard to tell. But it does prove the point that they are out there in a very difficult area trying to drill for oil, when some make the argument there are easier areas, especially in Alaska, that the government won't let them near. Do you think that's a valid argument?
No, I don't think it's a bad argument, because really on federal lands, oil production has gone down about 285,000 barrels a day over the last 3 years. And on private lands, like in the Dakotas and elsewhere, oil production has gone up dramatically. So there is a policy in this administration to make it more difficult to drill or explore on federal lands.
So where do we go from here? Because 10% of our oil on a daily basis comes from the Arctic. I mean, this is an important region no matter what you do. But at the same time, BP has sunk $1.5 billion into drilling in the same region. They're abandoning, their project, at least for now, because they're saying it's just sort of good money after bad at this point. How important do you think this oil is?
Well, I think it's very important that we be oil independent, and we have the ability to do that. The Bakken field has just been a real boom for oil production in America. We have the ability by the end of this decade to almost be independent in oil, and of course that affects all of our transportation needs. But on the other side of the aisle, we need to be concerned about our electricity and the energy that we use for that. This administration, I've sat through many hearings, and I can tell you, they are major obstacles to America becoming energy independent.
On that point, I've been very concerned that we've seen a big fracking boom in this country, and part of the reason is because it's relatively new and it's not that closely regulated. But now we could see regulators in Washington waking up and sort of cracking down on fracking. How big of an impact would that have? And is there a way to make sure, we're doing this safely, but at the same time not stop this boom that we've seen?
Well, fracking has been with us for some time, and there has never been a problem with it. EPA and other agencies have been looking at it pretty thoroughly, and at this point, I don't think they have the evidence to make it more difficult to use fracking, which is vitally important for both oil and natural gas production.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch. Congressman Whitfield, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
All right, we've got to go to some breaking news we have right now.